Hello, everybody. This is Walt Blackman, and I hope that you are having a great day. I know that I am. And I hope that you're safe. And I just hope that everything is working in your favor today. First of all, I want to say thank you, everybody, for signing on to my channel here, my Facebook, and my YouTube, and all that. I want to say thank you for doing that. As you know, I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Arizona 1 against Tom O'Halloran. It's a Democrat-held seat, but not for long because we're going to change that. And we are going to do some great things when we get to D.C. But what I'm going to talk about tonight, a lot of folks have been asking me about the CRT, critical race theory, and they wanted some questions to the answers to their questions. So what I did over this past week is I set up an avenue or a resource where people can ask those questions, and then I would give them responses. We've got 181 questions just in a span of like 4 or 5 hours. About this subject matter. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read some of the questions, not all of them, some of the questions that were asked to me, and I'll give responses here. Then I'll go ahead and break down what critical race theory is, why it's bad for our country, why it's bad for our children. We shouldn't be teaching this in school. So we will get right to that, and I hope that you enjoy. Now, I got to put my spectacles on because, you know, I can't read without them. So the first question about critical race theory was from a lady named Miss Kelly. And her question was, how can teachers say they will teach this curriculum even when the state says they can't? So the question is really, teachers are talking about teaching CRT anyway, even though it's against state law. Governor Ducey last week, 2 weeks ago, signed a bill not allowing critical race theory to be taught in our schools, nor to state employees. And how they are going to get around that, Miss Kelly, is that they already have lawyers that are lined up. Now, we know the fine is $5,000 if somebody violates that law. It needs to be stricter, in my opinion. I was a sponsor, co-sponsor to that bill, voted for the bill that critical race theory shouldn't be taught in our schools, and the governor signed it. So what has happened is that they have lawyers standing by for teachers who teach this. So they're already setting it up. So for them to do that, then there are some people out there that plan on teaching this anyway to our children. Okay, so I hope that answered that question. Okay, a Miss Hanson said, Walt Blackman, I think the fine should be $5,000 per student per each time they teach it. I agree. That's a big fine, and I know a lot of people probably can't afford it, but I agree with that. So we can stop people from teaching that. Okay, got. Let me go down here. Okay, I got a question from a Mr. Bruce Billings, and it says, I need to channel my inner Walt the next time my daughter mentions CRT. Thanks for that comment, but I got to tell you, right back what I was talking about on the floor during session, that it's a parent's right and responsibility to be able to teach your kid what they want to teach. It's not up to big government. It's not up to the state, and it is up to parents. And if a parent doesn't want their child to learn CRT, then that parent should have a say in that process. But the left doesn't want that to happen. They want to continue to indoctrinate our kids. They want to continue to push this rhetoric forward, this narrative that CRT is good for all when it's really good for none. All righty. Okay. So let me see. Okay. No, that's not CRT. That's not CRT. Here is one. Okay. Miss Pike says, what are your thoughts on CRT? So I've kind of already laid it out. CRT is a disaster waiting to happen. The problem with CRT is they are not teaching what equal opportunity or diversity and inclusion really is. What they have done is taken that word, diversity and inclusion and equal opportunity, they have taken that word and kind of actually destroyed it because it's not in the true spirit of teaching diversity or equal opportunity. Equal opportunity does not say that you have to blame someone else who is a different race about things that happened 200 years ago. And that's not right that that should happen. So equal opportunity talks about the opportunities that you can present yourself or that you make on your own to be able to thrive and to contribute in this country. And that is a big deal. When I was in the service, as many of you already know this, I went to a school, Department of Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute. And what we did is talk about and teach equal opportunity. This, what they are teaching right here, CRT, is nothing more than arming kids with hate at the end of the day. This is not equal opportunity. It's CRT, critical race theory. And they want to blame white folks for what has happened to the black population. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so a Miss Gina says, how do we know if CRT is in our schools? So the response to that is, how do you know if CRT is in your school? Well, first of all, you should go to these school board meetings to see what is being taught in your kid's classroom. Second, you need to get involved. I'm not saying this young lady is not doing this or y'all not doing it. However, if we want to know what's going on in the class, go to the meetings, go to the school board meetings, go to the parent-teacher conferences, go to those, and find out what they're teaching your children. And sometimes, I know some schools let the parents sit in the back of the room. I know when I was stationed at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, they actually let parents sit in the back of the room so you could observe the teacher. I don't know if we can do that here. I think that's something maybe we can explore, go forward with. But that's how we find out if they're teaching CRT in our classrooms. We have to be engaged. We need to be there. We need to be on the front lines before these people take control of our kids and continue to indoctrinate them on these types of issues that are going around. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so Ms. Townsend, not the Senator Townsend, Ms. Townsend says, Walt, I don't want to read that, thank you. She says she already knows about CRT. I think it is absolutely bogus. I think that we should all learn history from the beginning to present. And taking down all of these statues will not erase history, but it will be informative to future generations that they know what happened in our history and in our country. So I agree with Ms. Townsend when she talks about we need to talk about the whole history. However, when we're talking about history or we're teaching history to our kids, it's not a blame session. Okay, just because a kid is white does not mean that kids that are black and brown have a right to bully that kid or beat up on that kid because of critical race theory. Now that has happened in some cases across the country, where some kids have been bullied because of this critical race theory. Now the left is not going to come out and tell you that. They're not going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, it's good at all. We got flowers and sunshine." They're not going to do that. What they are trying to do is they are trying to brainwash our children into hating each other. That is what they're trying to do. But however, they've kind of flipped the script on it. What they want to do is empower black and brown kids to hate white kids because of what happened in the past. These kids have nothing to do with slavery or nothing to do with the past. These kids want to go to school and learn. CRT is a danger to our children, our schools, and our communities. Let me just read a couple more. Let's see. Okay. Miss Bonnie says, CRT, why don't they need to segregate us? Why do they need to segregate us again now in this time and day? So, that's what it is. It's what we're going to do. What they're going to do is pull out and point to different kids of different ethnic backgrounds, particularly white kids, and single them out. And they're going to say what their interpretation is of what is right or what is wrong. And the bottom line is these kids shouldn't be taught this because it's just not appropriate to teach. Not appropriate to teach. It's not appropriate for kids to have to do this. How are you going to blame a 7-year-old about something that happened in 1860 and that kid has nothing to do with it? How do you blame that kid? Because that's what this is going to morph into. So CRT, again, CRT is bad, bad legislation. The left are trying to push this through. We need to try to stop it. We have stopped it in the state from being taught in our schools and being taught to state employees. That's important. However, we need to make sure that we can keep that level of pressure on, because if we lose the House and the state of Arizona, guess what? They can go ahead and write another bill and then get it overturned. Or if the Democrats win the governorship in 2022, you can bet your bottom dollar they will bring back that bill CRT for it to be taught to children in our classrooms and taught to state employees. Let's see. We'll read one more, then we'll go to We'll go to live questions on the channel here. This comes from a Becky Kaufman, and it says, "What is the best way to argue the CRT debate in 30 seconds?" And that's a great question. And what I would say is CRT is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It teaches hatred and blame to white Americans. That's all it is. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and it's just attacking folks that have nothing to do with what happened in the past. Okay, and that is just. I'm not going to read no more of those questions because we got to go on to these other topics here. Still about critical race theory and how it's going to hurt our kids. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that are actually in the critical race theory curriculum that will be taught, not in Arizona, but in other states where the Democrats have voted that out of their chambers, and their liberal governors have signed these pieces of legislation. But I'm just going to read some of the things that they are going to teach in this class when it comes to a critical race theory. So, critical race theory believes racism is present in every aspect of life. Now, this is their preamble, I guess. Critical theory believes racism is present in every aspect of life, every relationship and every interaction, and therefore it has its advocates for this. So what they are going to say is that racism is in every part of someone's life, and that's just their beginning. And they say that all your interactions is encircled around with racism, and that's not true. Critical race theory relies upon interest or conversations between white people and black people by not giving black people opportunities and freedom. So basically, what they're going to teach at kindergarten is that white people are not going to give black people opportunities of freedom, and they didn't do that in the past, so they're not going to do it going forward. So it is your fault since you happen to be a white kid who is in kindergarten. Do you see how ridiculous that really is? That they are going to blame kids. They're going to do that. They're going to do the blaming. And you got folks that are really slick, and they can come in and teach these kids these things. And before you know it, you've got kids that are walking around feeling like they are the cause of all the country's problems, race problems. And that's some of the things they're going to teach you. Okay. So critical race theory is also against free societies and want to dismantle them by replacing it with something else. Okay, so we know that when the protesters went out and they were protesting against whatever, statues, they were tearing down statues. Okay, what they want to do is replace that, whitewash that, and replace it with CRT to say that this is the reason why we had to tear down these statues, because America is racist, white folks are racist, and this is how we clean it up. That's ridiculous, to say the least. To say the least, tearing down a statue does not solve our societal problems. All it does is make somebody have to go out there and clean up your mess after you tore down a statue. Now, we also know that during the summer, we had people that wanted to tear down statues of Abraham Lincoln. So, a little history quiz for you, not quiz, but a little history tip for you. Abraham Lincoln was one of the only Republican presidents that I know of that freed the slaves, wrote the Emancipation Proclamation, and guaranteed freedom for those newly or for slaves during the Civil War. And on that bill, that particular bill, the 13th Amendment, not one Dixiecrat Democrat voted to support that piece of legislation. So you have people that are actually out there tearing down statues, which there should be a fine. They should go to jail for that. Tearing down statues of the very person that authored the Emancipation Proclamation to free slaves, and then see that's how they think. Though they're not thinking. Period. If you ask me, why would you tear down a statue of Abraham Lincoln when that guy freed the slaves? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. CRT only treats race issues. I don't know what that's going to be. But what it sounds like what they want to do on there is they're saying that everything in society is racial, it's constructed, and that there are no individuals in critical race theory. So they want people just kind of like, this is the word. Go ahead and move forward with this word. And critical race theory is the answer to all your problems, and it is not. Critical race theory is. I don't know how many times I can say that. That critical race theory is not good. Also, critical race theory rejects all potential alternatives. Okay, it actually helps folks to form their own judgment. Okay, that racism does exist, and it makes itself the only allowable course that kids should be able to get things out of. So again, it's just, I don't know how much more of this stuff I can read because it's just insane. It's just insane. I'm gonna read one more. It's just insane how they got that going on. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Woo. Okay. It also says that critical race theory, okay, acts like anyone who disagrees with it must be racist. That's about the only thing that I can see that made any kind of sense. So if you disagree with CRT and it be taught and it shouldn't be taught, then you are a racist. Pretty much is what they are going to say to these folks that are out there. Look, folks. Here's the bottom line. Critical race theory, as I've said it 100 times, critical race theory is not what our kids should be learning in our schools. We need to make sure that we're concentrating on math and sciences, technology, to make sure that our kids can compete with the rest of the world. That is what's important. Also, when we're talking about critical race theory, how in the world are they going to sit and stand in front of a classroom and blame some kid who happens to be in kindergarten, who happens to be white, on what happened in 1860 during slavery, or are talking about their white privilege? Now, that stuff, I hear that a lot. White privilege, white privilege. I got to tell you, I ran in a district that was less than 3% black. I ran against two established white guys, two privileged white guys, if that's the term out there. I'm not saying that they were. I'm saying that is the term, the definition that these groups on the left will come out with. I ran against two guys who happened to fit that category as privileged white, and I won. Not one time, but two times. Okay, so if these folks had white privilege when we were running and they were trying to win a race, I would think that they would be trying to use that white privilege card. That's why that's ridiculous. But what they want to do is teach kids and say, you have a white privilege. And since you are white, you have a better advantage over someone who is non-white. And that just blows my mind that these people actually believe that a person of lighter skin has more opportunity than a person who is black or brown. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let me tell you the problem that I see when they're talking about disadvantaged black and brown folks, we need to look into the home. Okay, that is where we start to get some of these answers. 70% of young black males that end up in prison come from fatherless homes. Okay, I'll say it again because somebody's probably fallen out their seat. 70% of black young men who end up in prison come from fatherless homes. That means that there are no fathers in the home to lay the smack down on some of these kids when they're acting up. I got to tell you, my dad was in the home, and I got to tell you what, I didn't dare step out of line. I didn't dare step out of line because I had a male figure in my life that showed me what right looked like whenever I was taking wrong turns. And that is what we need in some of these black homes. Now, I'm not saying that black mothers cannot raise their kids, because you can. You've been doing it for years without the presence of a man in the home, the black man in the home. However, that child has more options or more opportunities for success when they come from homes that have a mother and a father that are there constantly with that child. Now, we all know that Black Lives Matter did not, and they had it on a Facebook, they had it on their webpage, that they were against a nuclear family. So we have groups like that that are pumping in information into the media. And then we have folks that are black and brown, and some of them may believe that. Now, we live in a day and age where there is opportunity for all. Okay, there is opportunity to go out and be a doctor, a pilot, a dentist, what have you. What have you. There are opportunities out there, but the deal is, if you have to work hard to get it. Opportunity only exists when you open the doors to go through to get that opportunity. If we have folks that are not striving and not doing what they're supposed to do, of course their opportunities are going to be limited. Now, we also hear that the amount of blacks that are in prison right now, when they get out, they have a 3-year time where they'll turn around, they'll recommit crimes and go back into the penal system. Well, yeah, that's going to happen when they are not presented with the opportunities that they could get, and those opportunities mean hard work. Okay, because hard work wins. And that is the thing that folks kind of lose sight of. So putting this critical race theory together and saying that your kids are where they are at now, if they happen to be black and brown, because of something that happened over 100 and something years ago, it's just setting that kid up for failure. And that's all it's doing, ladies and gentlemen. It's setting the kid up for failure. It is giving the kids excuses not to succeed or take advantage of those opportunities, because it's real easy to just say, well, I'm in my situation because of a white person had white privilege. You see how ridiculous that sounds? So instead of finding good role models let's concentrate on the black communities. Instead of finding good role models for some of these folks that are in the black community, some of these kids, okay, their role models are drug dealers, gangbangers. That's some of their role models. Not in all black communities, but that's some of their role models. So that means what happens? That means there should be a call out to black men to go out and mentor these kids that don't have the father in the home. That means we need more boys and girls clubs in black communities. That means that we have school choice for parents who want to get their kids out of the ghetto. Now, I'm not saying all black people live in the ghetto, because somebody will say something like that. Oh, Walt Blackman said all black people live in the ghetto. I am not saying that. I am telling you what I would do as a parent if I were in a situation where the neighborhood wasn't good. It was drug infested, the school was failing. And if somebody offered me an opportunity to take my kid out of that situation and go to a private or charter school that's not teaching CRT and doing blame, pushing blame, then I should be able to do that. And that's exactly what I would do. I would take my kid out of a bad environment and put him in a good environment. But the left doesn't like vouchers or school choice, because what they want to do is keep these kids captured, a captured audience, and say, this is why you live in the situation that you're in right now. And it's that kid's fault right there who happens to be white. And they have to acknowledge your white privilege. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous, particularly in this day and age. For Christ's sake, there was a black president. Okay, so if the country was really racist, how did he not only get elected once, he got elected twice? Now, I didn't vote for the guy, but he's clearly a black American. He clearly won 2 elections. So if this country were as racist as the left says, that guy wouldn't have been elected. But not once, but twice. He wouldn't have been elected, but he was elected. Okay. Now some people say, well, that's just one example out of many. Okay. There is a plethora of black Americans who are positive role models that these kids can look to. But instead, we want to put a barrier up like CRT, saying you can't make it because it's that person's fault. Now, my dad used to tell me, if you mess up and you don't take advantage of an opportunity, at the end of the day, the person looking back at you, is you looking in the mirror. That is how opportunities are lost. And we can't continue to blame other people because we happen to have we have bad luck. We can't do that. Now, there was a time in this country when Jim Crow was an unwritten law. But guess what, folks? Democrats pushed Jim Crow, not Republicans. Democrats pushed Jim Crow. Democrats pushed the black codes. Democrats pushed the need for to keep these people in bondage, keep black Americans in bondage. Democrats pushed all that. But now they're on the other side of the line saying, oh, forget all that stuff that we did in the past. Forget all that stuff. There's not opportunity or equal opportunity now for black people. But y'all are some of the main architectures of that. Some of y'all did it. I mean, not some of y'all did it, but you understand what I'm saying. The party that represents the Democrats and those Dixiecrats, they are the ones that laid all that groundwork down. During Reconstruction, and I'm gonna, we're running out of time here real quickly. During Reconstruction, when Johnson took over, was in the White House after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. He was against all these programs, of Reconstruction. He was against that stuff. Okay, he didn't want to move any of President Lincoln's agenda. Fortunately, the 13th and the 14th Amendment were passed in the House. But when we look at Democrat presidents like Woodrow Wilson, and Woodrow Wilson reintroduced integration at the federal level, who happens to be a Democrat. And at that time, before he introduced that bill to reinstitute segregation at the federal level, guess what? There were 60 black congressional folks that went to Congress. One black senator. But when Wilson introduced that, guess what? Integration. That's it. They had to go home. Wilson was a Democrat. Johnson both of them were Democrats. Okay. So, but that is just something I don't want to go off on a tangent, but we got to understand, if we're going to talk about history, let's talk about the whole history. Let's not just talk about what's happening now. Let's talk about the whole history and who is responsible for that. Because it seems like the Democrats love to place that blame on the feet of Republicans and conservatives. And if you know anything, that a lot of blacks during Reconstruction, when they voted, they registered Republican. Because if you look at some of the values that some of these families had, those values were conservative values. Work hard, want the government out of my business. Okay. I want to be able to take care of my family, feed my family without big government. Okay. And I want the type of opportunities that present themselves to be able to help me down the road later on. Ku Klux Klan came in and cleaned all that out. So we've got some questions right here. I am going to read some of these questions. Got a question from Becky Kaufman. I observed my daughters in class at Tempe. That's great. That's what you need to do. We got this young parent that goes into the class. Now, somebody talked to me about, why don't they put cameras in the classes? I mean, that's really not a bad idea, because you can watch if your kid is being taught something that goes against your values, and then you can take your kid out of that class. But that's another conversation. But that's really good, Becky, that you went in to observe your kids. She also says, I saw a meme that stated that if you can change the world white with black, it makes you uncomfortable. It's racist. Why would we want to do that? Again, pushing a narrative, an agenda to just blame everybody. And this last one says, dude, it's about the people, not the party. Exactly. Exactly. It's about the people. And what's happening to the people right now in 2021, what's happening to the people, they're being force-fed a narrative that is not true. Again, if we really want to talk about history, if we really want to open up that box, there are a lot of people who happen to be liberals or Democrats that have started us on this road. Now, like I said before, the key for a black family to succeed, first of all, the black community, we have to do it on our own. We need to stop waiting for somebody to come in and fix the problems. We need to stop waiting for white America to come into black communities and clean up the neighborhood or clean up those communities. We have to do it on our own. We can't just, they're going to come and do it. That's not the right answer. We have to do it ourselves. Black men have to stay out of prison and stay in the home, so you can raise that child with that mother. Now, a lot of people don't have those opportunities to have a two-parent home. We know the divorce rates are high, and just like every other ethnic background, black families, they divorce also. But here's what I will tell you. The person gets a divorce and they leave, there's nothing that says that they can't be in their kid's life in some way, shape, or form. So that excuse is not an excuse to me, because you can still be in your child's life. And you can make sure that your child has everything that they need to succeed through hard work, not through entitlements, not through handouts, not through it is somebody else's fault because you are black and they are white. I'm Walt Blackman, and I hope that you enjoyed what we've been talking about here this evening. I got to tell you, just shifting gears a little bit. A lot of y'all know that I'm running for Congress, and I am very voice. I say what I mean. I say what's on my mind. A lot of Republicans or a lot of people in office don't do that because they walk a tightrope, and they don't want to say anything that's going to either make them lose money or what have you. Listen, my job is to make sure that I peel the onion back and help all Arizonans, not just Black Americans or brown Americans or white Americans, but all Arizonans. And as a result, it will help all Americans. I am running because we need this type of leadership in our district, because we have no representation at DC if we are conservatives. We have no representation. That is why I'm running. CD1 is the seat that can flip the House. A domino effect will happen. The rest of the 4 states that are controlled by the Democrats will flip. That's why I need y'all to get out there, help me with this, and help me win. I'm gone over my 30-minute mark. I'm at 35 minutes. I should have shut off at 30 minutes, but I wanted to get that out to you. Take care, everyone, and God bless you. I am so thankful that you are supporting me. If you want to know more about me, just go to www.blackmanforcongress.com. That's www.blackmanforcongress.com. Go there, check out my policies, check out what I've done for Arizona already. You know who I am, you know how I operate. It's not a mystery when people vote for me, because you already know. Well, I'm asked. Oh, I got somebody that's asking me to stay on a little longer and to answer some questions. Okay, well, I'll do that. I'll answer some of these questions. I was going to get out of here, but let me just answer some of these questions really quick, because these folks did log on. I want to make sure that I get their questions in. Okay. Okay, it says, what are you doing to assist the Black man to stay out of prison? That's a question. What am I doing to assist the Black man to stay out of prison? Well, first of all, I am one of the leaders in this state on criminal justice reform. However, I will tell you, if you break the law, you need to be in prison. I don't care what color you are. You break the law, you should be in prison. It's when you get out of prison, the reform should start, so you don't go back to prison. I am not going to do anything to keep, what is his name, Father C. I'm not going to do anything, Father C, to keep you out of prison. That's your responsibility to keep yourself out of prison, just like it's every other person's responsibility, regardless of their color, to stay out of prison. That, I can't even believe he wrote that. Jeez, what am I going to do to keep Black people out of prison? Don't break the law. I guess I could just say that. Don't break the law. And that's just not Black men. That's it. That's anybody. Don't break the law so you don't end up in prison. Okay? I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my answer to your question. And Jim Walton said, great stuff, Walt. Thanks for the great talk. Thank you very much. And Father C, I don't know if you okay, he says, answer the question. I just did, dude. I just did. Don't get in trouble. Father C, don't get in trouble. Don't break the law. That you didn't, okay? Don't break the law. That'll help you. Okay, if you break the law, you go to prison. Okay, if you don't break the law, you won't go to prison. Okay, that's all I got for you. Hey, everybody, take care. I'm Walt Blackman. Have a great rest of the week. As you know, President Trump is coming to Arizona on the 23rd. I hope to see some of y'all there. If you haven't gone online and gotten your ticket, and we will try to guide you in the right direction. We'll put a link up here where you can go get your ticket to go see President Trump and some of the other folks. Charlie Kirk's going to be there. And also on the 28th of August, I want to tell you about an event that's going to be happening in Snowflake, Taylor, Arizona. It is basically, we had this event last year when folks came out to celebrate our country and to celebrate what's good about what's going on in our country, celebrate our men and women in blue, celebrate our veterans, and just plain on make sure that we are celebrating America. I'm Walt Blackman. Take care, everybody. God bless you and keep you safe. Remember, only you, Father C, can keep yourself out of prison. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.